Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Happy Thursday evening. Wow, Dana, first one on. Good to see you. I want to thank you. I'm just blown away by the people that have been tuning in to the 5 Day Forgiveness Challenge. This has been incredible. I don't know if you can tell by my voice, and normally I wouldn't use this as a plug, but this week we've been fighting a bit of a flu here in the house, and so tonight it is really getting the best of me. But I did not want to leave you guys hanging. I committed to 5 days, so if you can deal through the nasalness, and hopefully you can understand me clearly and know that I want to give this to you tonight because, again, I mentioned last night there was going to be a little bit of a surprise, so I'll talk about what that's going to be, but I think tonight should be very, very good for you if you're struggling right now with forgiveness. So we'll recap. On Monday, we talked about forgiving yourself. We talked about the importance of forgiving yourself and that forgiveness really is about forgiving yourself. You can't forgive others if you can't forgive yourself. And the challenge Monday night was that you were to write down something positive and comment to yourself on a regular basis over the next 24 hours. Say that positive thing over and over and over again. So what we hope that would do is encourage you to believe in some of the positiveness that you have inside of you. The second night, Tuesday night, we talked about how to forgive when they don't apologize. Thank you for the well wishes. And hello, Janita. The the challenge in forgiving when they don't apologize, obviously, most of us really want someone there to say, I'm sorry. But what happens when they don't? So we talked about that. And we also gave a challenge on Tuesday night for you to write a letter to that person that hurt you. And you could either mail it to them, you could mail it to me, or you could keep it and then go back and look at how your life has changed since writing that letter. And then last night, the topic was how to forgive and forget. Realizing that, again, if you are not able to let go of the pain, then you really haven't let it go. You haven't forgotten about it. And when you make the statement that I'm going to forgive, but I'll never forget, then in essence, what you're promising is that you're going to treat somebody else the way that you were treated. So I want to make sure that you let it go, and that, yes, there's a part of you that you're going to have to know, you're going to have to understand why it happened. And that's what we're going to get into tonight, because I said so much last night about apologizing, because that was the other piece of last night. How do you say I'm sorry to someone that you might have hurt? That tonight we're going to talk about how to identify the patterns in your life that create pain. So last night we started talking about when you are hurt, you have a tendency to then hurt others. And in many cases, you don't mean to, you don't have any idea that you're hurting them, but it's just that you've harbored so many ill feelings in your heart for so long that you don't know how to love authentically anymore. You don't know how to love unconditionally anymore. And so you then hurt others. So last night's challenge was to write a letter to someone that you know that you hurt. Now, I wonder how many of you, if you did write that letter, let me know. Message me on Periscope or on Facebook. Let me know that you did. I've seen some hearts flying, so I'm assuming that means that maybe some letters were written. And again, you could either mail it to that person, you could mail it to me, or you could keep it for yourself. But here's why that's so important. Oftentimes, we are in situations where we hurt other people, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally, but we in fact hurt them. And we know the pain that hurt causes because we've had to deal with it ourselves. But we often don't know how that hurt then manifests for other people in our relationships with them. Whether it's in relationships with your children, relationships with your spouse, relationships on the job, relationships within your family. It manifests in so many different ways. And if you're not keenly aware of where that pain is coming from, and that you might be in maybe acting in retaliation to something that happened to you, then you may just continue through life hurting people and not understanding why you have so many broken relationships, so many challenges with friendships, or people that just don't trust you because you're not someone that they can believe in. So when I talk tonight about identifying patterns, often we end up in patterns in relationships. And those patterns can be uh, very easy to identify and sometimes not so easy. But what really happens when we are over and over again choosing the wrong mate, end up getting hurt the same way over and over again, oftentimes it stems from either a need for approval or a need for acceptance. Many of us as children, I mean, I watch my own son run around the house. You know, we all want to get approval. I want, as soon as I get off this video, to go upstairs and my wife to ask me, so how'd it go, babe? And I want to say, it was awesome. And I want her to say, that's great. We all thirst and long for that approval and that acceptance. But when we're looking for it in the wrong places, when we're looking for it from people who don't have our genuine interests at heart, then it's a problem. It's a big problem. Secondly, when we're looking for love in all the wrong places, kind of a spinoff on what I just talked about, but many of us are looking for love in the wrong places. I'm not going to go too deep into this because I don't have a lot of time, but if we're constantly looking for love to replace an emptiness that we have in our heart or in our soul, then we need to check where the relationship really lies. Because again, that emptiness can't be filled by a man or a woman. I'm going to say that again. That emptiness that you feel cannot be replaced by a man or a woman. I don't care how tall, dark, and handsome he is. I don't care how vivacious she is. I don't care how much money they have. I don't care what family they come from. I don't care how much they worship the ground you walk on. That hole that you have in your spirit that needs to be filled cannot be filled by some person. Okay. Thirdly, attachment to narcissists. A lot of us get caught up in the world of narcissism. I mean, it's big time right now. Every time you turn on TV, all of these reality shows are filled with narcissists, and so we believe that that's the norm. So we end up in relationship with people that care so much more about themselves than anybody, anything else in the world, that we don't realize that we have accepted that all we will ever be is second fiddle to them. So in essence, we end up getting hurt over and over and over again because no one in relationship is putting us as a priority. Everything else is more important. And then last but not least, which wraps all of these up together, is that we consistently make excuses for the people that hurt us. We consistently make excuses for being mistreated. It's because I didn't do this, that's why. Or it's because he told me that this is what he was looking for, and I kept asking for more. And if you're making excuses, and you know that you're making excuses, then you know that you've got a pattern. Because if you go back 2-3 relationships, you start to see the same thing. If you take pictures, and I joked with some friends about this before, if you take pictures of the last 3 people you dated and put them side by side, and they have the same physical characteristics, there might be something wrong. And yes, I'm laughing about this because this is a very deep matter, but I want you to really get the sense that that it's okay to laugh, because part of accepting where we are in life, part of accepting where we're going, you got to be able to laugh sometimes and enjoy that we are headed into a new direction. So I'm going to back up and say one thing that I didn't say about being able to forgive others, or to get forgiveness from someone that you may apologize to and they may not accept it. You have to give that over to God. Bottom line, you have to pray for that person, pray that God gives them the peace that they need to settle the situation in their hearts, and pray that at some point they can meet you in a place of forgiveness. Then that also applies when it comes to your identifying the patterns. If you've got a hole that you're trying to fill by getting acceptance and approval by others, and by attaching yourself to the wrong person that's a narcissist, or that you're looking for love in all the wrong places, God is the only one that can fill that hole for you. And when you develop that relationship with him, then it's amazing how the people that you come in contact with, you'll want them to have that same relationship. You'll have that level of respect for each other. So the challenge for tonight is another affirmation. Tonight, what I want you to do, and I know I may say this too fast, so you may have to go back and rewind the video, but I want you to write this down. I want you to say it over and over again to yourself between tonight and tomorrow. You might want to tape it to the mirror. But these are the affirmations I want you to say. I deserve respect and unconditional love. I am affirmed by my faith and not my relationships. So I'm going to repeat those. I deserve respect and unconditional love, and I am affirmed by my faith and not my relationships. I want you to say that to yourself because, again, a lot of the power of affirmations is that the more you say those things, the more you hear those things, the more you start to believe those things, the more you start to live into those things. And we all want to walk away from the narcissist. We all want to walk away from that need for approval. But for us to do that, we have to be able to say to ourselves that I deserve respect. I deserve unconditional love. And I'm affirmed by my faith and not by my relationships. So I know I went a little long tonight because I did some recap of the first 3 nights. Tomorrow night's going to be our last session. I really appreciate you for joining in. I thank you for sharing. I know we're getting so many views on this, so please continue to share it with your friends and make sure that you tune in tomorrow night. I know it's a Friday night. And I know Friday night for me is date night, so I'm going to see how I can make this work at 8 o'clock. Don't be surprised if I do it a little bit earlier than 8 o'clock, just because I got to keep peace in the home, if you know what I mean. But just know that I'm praying for you. If you've got ideas and suggestions, please share them with me. And before I sign off tonight, I want to say one thing. I had a long chat last night with a dear friend who really talked about the fact that forgiveness really comes once you've reached a level of spiritual maturity. I'm going to let you think about that overnight, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a blessed evening, and thanks again for joining the 5-Day Forgiveness Challenge.